Lizarra's Viral Growth 4 by MagnusMagneto, commissioned by me Wizard.
Liz!
Jelly shouted.
What the bloody hell happened?
You could say I had a bit of a growth spurt during quarantine.
Lizarra replied with a wink. Her usual confidence had been amplified sevenfold by her transformation, now creating a metaphysical aura that nearly overwhelmed Jelly.
A growth spurt, that's the understatement of a century.
Looks like the virus had a very different effect on me than it did everyone else.
She winked again.
That's even more of an understatement.
Lizarra giggled, while Jelly became even more flustered as he processed everything that was happening. She stretched her long arms out before raising them high into the air, fingertips nearly touching the ceiling.
So, babe, how do you like my new body?
It's amazing. I've never seen anything better in my life.
Oh, I had a feeling you'd have a similar reaction. You need to see how strong I am now.
Lizarra wrapped her arms around Jelly and effortlessly scooped him off of the ground. His hands immediately explored her impossibly hard muscles, while she brought her lips to his, and they passionately kissed. She held him this way for nearly 9 minutes, her arms showing no sign of strain from doing so. After Lizarra finally put Jelly back down, he took a few moments to collect himself before saying,
Why didn't you tell me about this?
I wanted it to be a surprise, silly.
Guess this explains why you were eating so much food.
She nodded.
Well, you look absolutely amazing. But is this okay? Is it safe? How can someone grow so much so quickly?
Oh, I'm way stronger and healthier than ever before. You wouldn't believe how much energy I have. Think I'm even getting smarter too. Been learning programming and doing so well at work.
That's all lovely, babe, but we should really get you to a doctor, shouldn't we?
Oh, that's enough worrying about silly stuff. We've got much more important business to attend to,
Lizarra said, before effortlessly scooping Jelly into her arms and carrying him into the bedroom. 10 minutes later, Jelly lay on their bed completely exhausted, while Lizarra basked in a post-climax afterglow.
You don't seem very sick to me,
she said with a wink.
Neither do you. Besides, it can take a few days for the symptoms to show up.
I'm absolutely brimming with energy and have been cooped up for over a week. I need to go for a run, okay?
It's dark out. I don't think that's very safe for you to do.
Lizarra stared at him with a bemused expression for a moment.
Really? You think that anyone is going to be able to mess with me?
Well, I guess not, but what if they had a knife or a gun or something?
A knife? Fat lot, that'll do them. I'd knock them out with a single punch before they could do anything, and guns are rare here. Besides, I might be bulletproof by now, and if I'm not, then hopefully it's a matter of time until I am.
Well, all right, just be careful, okay?
Yeah, I'll try to not run anyone over with my huge, powerful legs, if that's what you mean. But first, I need to find something to wear.
None of her old clothes could remotely fit her anymore, so Lizarra delved into Jelly's wardrobe. Even a sweatshirt that hung loose on him was tight against her broad, powerful upper body, the bottom few centimetres of her rippling midriff visible. Her legs and glutes completely filled out his sweatpants, details of her hyper-developed muscles apparent through the fabric. As Lizarra took her first steps outside since beginning her quarantine, she felt excited with a twinge of anxiety. She inhaled deeply.
Miss the sensation of fresh air,
she thought before looking up at the night sky.
Kind of wish the sun was out, but the stars are nice too.
Quickly after starting her run around the familiar neighbourhood, Lizarra realised everything looked smaller in comparison to her new size. Despite having not walked much at all since catching the virus, her endurance seemed greater than ever. Even a steady, brisk pace posed no challenge at all to her. The streets were mostly empty, only a few cars passed by, and it was too dark for her to see inside of them. Lizarra felt a sense of power from moving her massive body, each step producing a loud, satisfying thud beneath her. Over an hour passed before Lizarra returned from running. She found Jelly pacing nervously.
Oh, thank goodness you're all right. You were gone so long, I wasn't sure what to do.
Silly Jelly. I have so much stamina now that I just kept going and going. Honestly, I could have gone longer, but I wanted to get back home to you sooner.
Before he could respond, she scooped him up again and carried him to bed, where she quickly straddled him. Shortly after their next lovemaking session, Jelly fell asleep, his arms wrapped around Lizarra. It took her a short while longer to join him in slumber, but she enjoyed his presence too much to move him. Instead, she sat quietly for the next half hour, imagining the groundwork for a program she could potentially code to automate most of her emails at work, which would free up even more time for her. She was amazed at how vividly she could imagine the code and wondered if she would remember it when she woke up next. During her dream that night, Lazara found herself in a room resembling a gym filled with futuristic equipment. She went through a full workout, lifting thousands upon thousands of pounds. Jelly appeared in her dream and cheered her on, which somehow triggered a growth spurt inside of her, letting her lift more and more weight until she could press hundreds of tons overhead. When Lizarra awoke, she found Jelly still peacefully sleeping with his arms wrapped around her. Until now, she had leapt out of bed each morning, but she didn't want to disturb him. Instead, she gently stroked his hair for the next 40 minutes before he finally stirred.
"Morning, sleepyhead."
Morning,
He replied groggily, wiping his eyes and yawning loudly. After noticing that Lizarra was beaming with energy, he added,
Already had your morning coffee?
Lizarra shook her head.
"Nope, to be honest, I haven't really needed it anymore. Every morning I wake up ready to go."
Must be nice. I, on the other hand, really need to get some tea first.
"I know, babe. You just stay here and I'll take care of it, okay?"
Thanks.
He replied before laying his head back down on the pillow, trying his hardest to not drift back off to sleep. As Lizarra returned with the tea, Jelly rubbed his eyes again, looking her over with a double take.
You look even bigger than you did last night.
"Yup, I grow every day now."
Guess I'll have to get used to that. Will it ever stop, though?
Lizarra shrugged.
"I kind of hope not. Now let's see what's changed since yesterday."
She retrieved the measuring tape and checked her height.
"Gained 4 centimetres overnight. It seems like the growth is still accelerating."
Jelly gulped.
And your boobs and muscles look bigger, too, like almost a whole cup size or something.
Lizarra grinned broadly.
"Of course! Check out what I can do now."
She walked over to the pull-up bar, grabbed hold of it, and proceeded to perform countless one-armed chin-ups. Jelly watched with amazement as she finished over a dozen without any visible strain. Then another dozen, and another.
I can't even do one of those.
He murmured to himself as she crossed the 60 repetition mark, blissfully unaware that she had only reached a little under half of her limit. Finally, after finishing 131 one-armed chin-ups, Lizarra dropped to the ground.
"This gets me so pumped up,"
she said before raising her right arm and tensing it. She walked over to Jelly, leaned down and presented the bicep to him. He reached up and wrapped his fingers around it, unable to cover her arm with both handspans.
It's like steel,
he said, squeezing with all of his might, not budging the flesh whatsoever. After letting Jelly feel her arm for another minute, Lizarra stepped away and returned to the pull-up bar.
"Gotta even myself out now."
She proceeded to do 130 one-armed chin-ups with her left arm.
Looks like you'll need to use the heaviest weights at the gym if you want a proper workout.
It sounds like you want me to keep growing these huge muscles of mine,"
Lizarra replied with a wink. Jelly nodded.
As long as it's healthy for you, that'd be awesome.
"Well, you know, I had a dream last night about lifting weights at a gym, so maybe it's a sign I should do that this afternoon."
Jelly nodded again.
"But first, we have some more catching up to do."
She strode towards Jelly and mounted him again. 10 minutes later, Lizarra lay in bed next to Jelly, gingerly stroking his face.
"So glad it's the weekend so I don't have to work today. I mean, I'm working less than ever with my new arrangement, but now there's even more time to spend with you and do other stuff."
Jelly nodded.
Yeah, it's nice.
he said while hugging her.
It's time for us to eat now. Since you're sick, I'll be taking care of breakfast, okay? You just sit here and rest up.
Jelly shrugged.
I feel fine, but breakfast in bed is always nice. Thanks, babe.
After breakfast, Lizarra and Jelly showered together, where the vast difference in their height and width became even more apparent. Drying off, Lizarra looked over their wardrobe again before grabbing more of the largest clothes Jelly owned, which barely fit her.
I need to go clothes shopping. You'll be okay here without me, right?
Of course.
As Lizarra got into her car, she was surprised by how small it was compared to her body.
Might need to get something bigger if I keep growing. Or maybe I'll become fast enough to just run everywhere,
she thought as she drove towards the shopping centre. As an attractive woman, Lizarra was accustomed to receiving attention from existing in public, but with her new height and figure, it seemed that almost everyone in the vicinity of her stared for at least a few seconds, despite her unflattering clothing. Around 90 minutes later, Lizarra returned, carrying 4 overstuffed bags. She plopped them down on the floor of the bedroom and said,
Good thing I got that raise because all of these clothes were expensive, and if I keep growing, I'll need even more.
She quickly retrieved the garment she was most excited about and put it on.
This was the biggest pink onesie they had, and it's already tight against me,
Lizarra said, nearly drooling at the sight of herself in the mirror.
Well, you'll have to be careful in it then.
Oh no, I'm hoping to totally outgrow this one too. In fact, I'll even flex out of it in front of you.
And then what? Will you just be naked all the time?
Oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you? Maybe, though I'll probably get some custom ones made.
If you do keep growing, you'll need all of your clothes custom tailored, not just the pyjamas.
That's true.
After Lizarra put the rest of her new clothes away, she turned to Jelly and asked,
How are you doing, babe? Need anything? Any symptoms?
Jelly shook his head.
Honestly, I feel fine. I'd be up for going out and doing something, but I'm afraid of spreading the virus.
She nodded.
Well, I think I need to have a proper workout today. Believe it or not, those chin-ups are just a fraction of what I normally do.
What have you been doing for training anyways?
Oh, mostly tons of push-ups, bodyweight squats and lunges, crunches, that sort of thing.
You know, if you had equipment for lifting weights, that might be a lot more efficient.
I know. Been thinking about buying a home gym with all the extra money from my promotion.
Well, as much as I want to make up for lost time since you were quarantined, maybe you should go to the gym like we discussed.
Yeah, I'll head there soon. Though, in my dream you were cheering me on while I lifted. Unfortunately, that part won't come true. Yet.
Oh, you dreamed about me. How sweet.
I've been dreaming a lot about you lately.
I probably dreamed about you too during your quarantine, but I can't really remember them by the time I wake up.
Well, you won't have to rely on your dreams to see me anymore, especially now that I'm working from home and you're quarantined. We'll be spending a lot of time together.
I'm looking forward to it. Now go pump up those sexy muscles of yours with an awesome workout.
You got it,
Lizarra said before changing into an athletic crop top and shorts she recently purchased and leaving the house. The attention Lizarra received while out shopping was amplified even more greatly as most of her outrageously muscular and curvy body could be seen in her athletic crop top and shorts. Almost everyone openly stared at her. This was initially unnerving, but she inwardly told herself,
Better get used to it because even more people are going to gawk when I'm even bigger.
After signing up for a gym membership, Lizarra considered hiring a personal trainer, as she had little experience lifting weights, but decided to keep things simple by winging it.
May as well start with something that I can't possibly mess up, like bicep curls,
she thought before heading over to the dumbbell rack. She was by far the most muscular person in the room, and almost the tallest too.
Shouldn't be long until I stand higher than them all too.
Lizarra inwardly chuckled. She eyed over the dumbbells before settling on 50 kilograms. To her surprise, they were light, and curling them was similar to picking up a 2-kilogram weight before her transformation. After curling them a few times and finding her muscles weren't remotely challenged, she placed the weights down and grabbed onto the heaviest dumbbell available, 100 kilograms. Lizarra was able to lift the massive weights off the rack with surprising ease. There was a heft to them, but they weren't much heavier than picking up a jug of water was in the past. Staring at herself in the mirror with a broad smirk, she curled the weight, watching as her enormous bicep hardened, a thick blue vein bulging along it. Her eyes widened with glee as she curled the 100-kilogram dumbbell with her other arm.
I guess it makes sense I can handle this since I weigh so much and can do so many one-armed chin-ups,
she thought before doing a set of 12 on each arm. After completing a few sets of dumbbell curls, Lizarra felt more confident and loaded up a barbell with 300 kilograms, the absolute most it could hold. She was excited to find that she was capable of doing the major compound lifts with it: squats, deadlifts, bench press, and even overhead presses. She performed each exercise with near-perfect form and was able to complete sets of over 10 repetitions in each. Almost everyone else in the room had given up on doing their own workouts. Instead, they were transfixed on Lizarra. A couple of people had even begun filming her, only to be stopped by gym staff. Lizarra was starting to like the attention, though she wished that Jelly was there with them, cheering her on. Lizarra spent some more time doing various exercises to target her calves, shoulders, and other minor muscle groups that didn't feel challenged enough by the other lifts. About an hour after entering the gym, her body looked more muscular than ever. She stared at herself in the mirror with pride while she posed. Every engorged muscle on her frame bulged against the skin above it, each tiny detail fully visible. Even her breasts pushed further against her top as the pecs beneath were swollen from effort.
This must be the pump Jelly was talking about,
she thought.
I need to get home and show him right away.
Without delay, she did precisely that, nearly running out of the gym, ignoring the growing crowd of spectators entirely as she leapt into her car. After arriving home, Lizarra bounded towards the bedroom, her massive frame making the entire house shake with each step. She nearly knocked the bedroom door off of its hinges before proudly posing before Jelly, who stared at her with rapt fascination. After literally tearing her clothes right off, she strode towards the bed and playfully pinned Jelly down, where she initiated the most intense love-making session of his life. To be continued. If you enjoyed this story, consider the supporter edition in the description. Subscribe to the channel to be notified of future installments. Leave a like and comment below.